Hawkeye, the quote-unquote lamest Avenger. Well, I for one love this dude. I quite enjoy Clint Barton's shenanigans in the comics. I think he's super cool for being a regular Joe with a bow and arrow, and almost every piece of media he's in has to make him an interesting character with depth to make up for his lack of visually impressive powers. This wasn't the case for the MCU though. Hawkeye ended up being pretty one-note for most of his appearances, having unexplored depth and history that really tickled my asshole the wrong way. It was truly frustrating because Jeremy Renner plays him in this spunky way, but at the same time the character is a realist and has an I'm too old for this shit attitude, and I quite like that. But the character remained unexplored, never truly feeling like a main character in the story, until finally Disney Plus appeared to give the world Hawkeye, a new show starring Barton and introducing fellow archer Kate Bishop. And look, this was the show I was most excited for. Yeah, you heard me right, I was more excited for this than Falcon and the Winter Soldier, more excited for this than WandaVision, all of them. But something happened. As the series debuted weekly and I watched and watched, upon reaching around the 4th episode in the 6-episode series, I came to the conclusion that this show was not great. And I wondered why. Come episode 6, I think I figured it out. Marvel really looked at Hawkeye and said, yeah, this is actually gonna be a style over substance show, but also there is no style, except for like 2 action sequences. So I think the fans are really gonna like this one, guys. I think this is gonna be some top tier content. Yes, this is the destruction of character development to build hype, sacrificing good storytelling for, well,
that's the guy I've been worried about this whole time. Kingpin.
So let's talk about how Marvel ruined Hawkeye. Before that though, you know what else can get ruined? Your hair. That's right, with age, hair just falls off, man. 25% of men begin the process of hair loss before age 21, and 2/3 of men experience it by age 35. So let me talk to you about Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration experts. And now Bosley RX is here, their simple and convenient way to restore, regrow, and retain hair. Bosley RX can help you stop hair loss dead in its tracks with effective FDA-approved treatment options from the trusted leaders in hair restoration. There's 3 affordable treatment options available depending on your needs and preferences. You can complete an online survey from the comfort of your home, and a physician will evaluate your submission, and upon approval, your treatment will be delivered directly to you. No doctor's office visit is required. With over 45 years of experience in hair loss solutions, start keeping what's yours. Learn how you can help stop hair loss by going to bosleyrx.com/browntable or click the link below to learn how you can get your first month free and free shipping. That's bosleyrx.com/browntable to learn how you can get your first month free with free shipping. Hawkeye started off strong. Its first 30 minutes were perfect. Kate Bishop is inspired by Barton during the first Avengers movie. Barton is trying to relax with his family, finally something built upon from Endgame, but it starts to get a little complicated. We have suspicious characters like Jack Duquesne who seem to be evil, we have the Tracksuit Mafia who are evil, we have Maya who isn't necessarily evil but she is definitely an antagonist in the show, and we also have Kazi who I'm expecting to turn into the clown by the end of the show, but they flopped that so hard. And the story is kind of almost like this mystery box. Oh, who's Maya working for? Who's the boss? Who's Jack Duquesne? And all of these reveals feel short-sighted, rushed, and sloppily executed. Like we all know this, right? The bad guy is the Kingpin. The big bad guy at the end is, yes, Wilson Fisk. But who cares? The only reason this is cool is because at the time we thought Marvel Netflix had been eradicated, but now it's back. But story-wise, it's okay, well, it's a bad guy, you have to beat him up. The story really doesn't try to make his character all that interesting. It relies on how cool the Kingpin was in the Daredevil show and doesn't make him that interesting in the show he's currently in. And there's so much build-up in this show, and more build-up, and more build-up, and we're already in episode 6. Oh no, the Tracksuit Mafia. Oh, Jack Duquesne is actually evil? Wait, no, it's actually Kate's mom. Yelena shows up in episode 4 to add another plotline into an already busy show. And also the concept of Yelena showing up in the Hawkeye show, the story beat, that wasn't told to the Hawkeye staff for some reason. I'm pretty sure that the head writer is the only person that knew that Yelena was gonna be in Hawkeye, and they couldn't tell the staff. I guess it's to not spoil Black Widow, I think? As if anyone cares about Black Widow spoilers, she's dead? And as all this is happening, the fight choreography? Yeah, what fight choreography? And this makes the show a lot tougher to watch, especially considering the chase sequence in episode 3, which is incredibly fresh and really well directed. So it's definitely weird. The show's kinda whack, even when it has well-developed emotional moments. Clint calling his son but not being able to hear him is everything I want from the MCU. But at the same time, the show is still a prime example of how the MCU and its hype-based mentality can affect and nearly ruin shows. Remember how in episode 2, Kingpin appears but it's not shown? It's just his hand? Well, boom. Instant Twitter buzz. Will he return? Does this mean Daredevil's coming back? The usual. It reminds me of WandaVision's hype and how, since every episode was built around this mystery and intrigue, it got a lot of recognition. And it seems like that mentality has tainted Hawkeye, because what could have been a deeply explored show, showcasing a slow burn of character flaws all coming together and exploding into an emotional climax, ends up being a rushed, oddly paced, somewhat disappointing ending. And what reveals this most are the deleted scenes. The biggest jaw-dropper was seeing Wilson Fisk appear in the second episode of Hawkeye. Like I said earlier, in episode 2, Kingpin appears and just tugs on Maya's cheek, but the scene was meant to be longer, with not only Kingpin being revealed so we further understand his relationship with Maya, as well as what he means to her, but also with Kazi being revealed. We find out how they met knowing each other since infancy, and it's like, why? Why would you cut this? I would get it if, say, Kazi was gonna appear in the Echo show, but he dies in Hawkeye. So unless they're gonna revive both Kazi and Kingpin, with Kingpin being a given because this happens in the comics, then there's no reason to delete the scenes. Worse, I have this feeling that these scenes were meant to be shown way early on in the series, but they decided against it, to have the Kingpin reveal be at the end of episode 5, one episode away from the finale. Which is insane to me, because then you reveal the big bad and have no way to explore him as a character. They can only really utilize him as an obstacle that needs to be stopped, because there's just too many subplots going on in this show. It was leaked that Kingpin was gonna be in episode 4 of Hawkeye, and eventually it came out that nope, he's not in episode 4, he's in episode 5. But I've always believed those leaks, and the deleted scenes confirm my suspicions. I truly believe the original intention was to have him be built up gradually. Until then, he's eventually a dominant figure in episode 6, but for some reason, Marvel changed that, deciding to play too much into the hype culture Marvel stans seem to adore. Now, it could have been the writers deciding themselves to rework the show this way, but I don't know, man. I don't think they would willingly shoot themselves in the foot and erase character development. Heck, there's a scene with Kate's mom and the Kingpin and the lighting and tone is pretty much ripped straight out of Daredevil, but of course they had to delete this. And lastly, there's also Clint Barton's whole ass backstory. Yeah, if you put it together, it's basically a whole friggin' short film on Clint Barton, which was completely scrapped. Why would you do this? And this isn't a case of, oh, we could use this in a future project. I have zero idea where this backstory could pop up again, unless they make a second season of Hawkeye and have his past come back to haunt him or something, yet again. See, this backstory develops Clint so much as a character. Growing up, he had nothing. He had a mom that, due to desperation, wound up getting herself in such deep shit, Clint himself got her arrested. I'm assuming from this, MCU Clint grew up without a parental figure. And now, older, with a family of his own, he wants to provide. He wants to make sure his family is taken care of. And the entire time, he's struggling to get back home to see his kids. And I feel like this would mean so much more if we actually got to see Clint's backstory in the show. Kate having to see her mom get arrested would mean so much more if we actually got to see Clint's backstory in the show. He can relate to this. This has happened to him when he was even younger than Kate. And this was deleted, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary fellas. But I guess, Kate's backstory was enough for some reason. We got plenty of development in the show, but so much development was cut. You'd be surprised at how much viewers actually want to see what the characters are going through so they can care about them. And in the end, we ended up with a hype-based show that never really delivered because the hype that revolved around it wasn't set up well enough to pay off fully. I legitimately think the one plotline that actually ended up being well done, surprisingly, was the Yelena plotline. Honestly though, how can you screw that up? But I'm glad they did it well. I really like Clint and Yelena's conversation. It was great. That's good. Good. Everything else? Mid. Very mid. Maya kills Kazi mid, I felt nothing, and it's infuriating because the show tries to adapt Matt Fraction's Hawkeye run, one of the best comics in ever, and it does so terribly. It basically isn't Fraction's run, although it adopts some of its banter, set pieces, and rips David Aja's art for the comic run. Kazi is this actual character called the Joker. I mean, not the Clown. The Clown. That was a joke. He's nothing like the Joker. Anyway, the Clown in Matt Fraction's Hawkeye run deafens Clint Barton by literally sticking 2 arrows in his ears. That's insane. But the character of Kazi that we got is a bit of a bitch, and nowhere near as interesting as that. And that's just one of the many issues revolving the Hawkeye show. There's so much potential, but it isn't executed well enough or is straight up abandoned. And it leads to probably the most underwhelming Marvel Disney Plus show released till now, other than What If, for me. But still, I enjoyed the show for what it had to offer. That being said, as it went on, I felt like I was watching it not because I was loving it or anything, but more so out of an obligation to the MCU. Thanks so much for watching the video. Make sure to check out Interstellar Ranger Commence, premiering April 2nd of this year. That's right, we finally made it. I'm super excited. I hope you enjoy it. Check out the trailer. The link is in the description. Thank you so much, Young Chef, for this awesome Hope Griffin fan art from Interstellar Ranger Commence. She looks awesome, and I hope you love the character when she debuts in April. Thanks so much, patrons, for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. You guys literally help me survive, so I really do appreciate it. Y'all are goals, squad goals, hashtag besties. And thank you again so much for watching the video. If you're a Chad, awesome. And if you haven't joined the Chad Nation, all you have to do is click the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks so much everyone for watching the video, and I hope to see you all next time.